Joining us now, Skye Perryman, President and CEO of Democracy Forward.
You know, the founders structured the federal government around federalism. What's that? A system that divides power between the national government and the states. Why did they do that? Well, the founders believed that concentrating too much authority with one person, it kind of reminded them of that monarchy they just left, and they didn't want that. This is why we literally broke away and started a new country. So I'm concerned that the president of the United States of America doesn't understand or doesn't even know why our founders thought the government should be set up in the way that it is. That being said, I think that they are trying to steal the election. You're a lawyer. Is that an accurate statement? And if so, what makes it accurate?
I think it is accurate, and I think it's not just what you hear the president saying today, which, as you said, the Constitution's always very inconvenient for them. But we've seen not just, you see the Bondi letter, right, last week, where you have Pam Bondi writing Minnesota, saying we can pull out the violence and the murders from your city if you just hand over the voter rolls. You have the Fulton FBI raid. And then, in cases that we're litigating, the Department of Justice is putting documents on file saying, "Oops, last summer when we told the court that Doge didn't have access to personal data, guess what? They did have access to data at Social Security. They exfiltrated it. Oh, and by the way, this is just in a court filing that they made. An unnamed Doge team member did a side agreement with a voter advocacy organization. So all of this is lining up." Thankfully, it's lining up now in February so the American people can see what is happening before their eyes, and we can take action over the course of this year. But they are coming straight for the elections, no question.
Yeah, what happened in Georgia, I think people don't realize just how incredibly bizarre and out of character that is for the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice ordinarily is supposed to be divorced from the executive branch. It's not supposed to act as the executive branch, just little de facto military and court service. For them to go down there and do that 6 years after an election is very, very troubling. But one of the things I think we've seen here is the ability to try to normalize that.
Yes.
Right. Oh, well, what happened in Georgia is just all part of trying to get to election integrity. And there's something called the SAVE Act, which is gaining a lot of traction on Capitol Hill. I want to play what Majority Leader John Thune said about it.
The Republicans should say, we want to take over. We should take over the voting in at least 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting.
With respect to nationalizing elections, I think the president has clarified what he meant by that, and that is that he supports the SAVE Act. There are other views probably when it comes to nationalizing or federalizing elections, but I think at least on that narrow issue, which is what the SAVE Act gets at, I think that's what the president was addressing.
So, Scott, that clip was from President Trump and Leader Thune. But you see right there, Trump says something bombastic on the Dan Bongino show, and then Thune comes in and goes, well, actually, it's this official congressional act, the SAVE Act. You know more about the SAVE Act probably than most people in this country. But the one thing that jumps out to me is if you're a woman in this country and you took your husband's name, the ability for you to lose your chance to vote is quite high. Because if you have your maiden name on your passport, and you show up to vote, and suddenly the voter roll says, well, you've got a different last name, and you didn't bring along your little form, 60-something million women could be disenfranchised.
I'm one of those women.
There you go. Well, that's the idea, right? It's not about election security. It's not about integrity. It is about undermining what the people want. I mean, that's the entire thing with this administration. They are continuing to lose public support. Their allies in Congress are losing public support because they're not acting like a Congress, checking the president, and they're going to try to pull out every stop. But I think that, many of the things that they're proposing are completely unconstitutional. We've seen judges across the country largely block the executive orders, which also tried to federalize elections. So you're seeing that. And you're also seeing the American people they're connecting the dots now. And I think that's really important.
It is notable to me that Thune tries to finesse the president's messaging.
Yeah.
But House Speaker Mike Johnson, that's not what he did. He actually sort of poured gasoline on what the president said. Take a listen.
In some of the states, like in California, for example, I mean, they hold the elections open for weeks after Election Day. That's just one thing that bothers so many people. We had 3 House Republican candidates who were ahead on Election Day in the last election cycle. And every time a new tranche of ballots came in, they just magically whittled away until their leads were lost. It looks on its face to be fraudulent. Can I prove that? No.
Well, they certainly can't prove that. They've never been able to prove voter fraud in any meaningful way. President started trying to do that in 2017 when he was mad that he lost the popular vote. You remember the Pence-Kobach Voter Commission, which we sued and had disbanded. But this is what's old is new again, it appears.
But I just want to point out, or rather ask you, what is the danger? You laid out a scenario for us, right?
Yes.
Where all of a sudden you have voter rolls that
Yes.
they are using to look for fraud. I would add to that, all of a sudden you have ICE agents who are
100%.
showing up, trying to turn people away from their right to vote. You layer onto that having a Speaker of the House who's willing to carry the president's water. I understand there's a midterm between now and then, but let's just say, what is the danger of that?
Well, I mean, certainly we think that the Speaker has at least shown he's going to try to do everything he can to continue to turn, to carry the president's water, including if that means undermining the actual results of this election. What we want the American people to know is that there are going to be lawyers that will fight. The president's attempts to undermine voting in elections before have always failed in the court. His theories that he came up with when the 2020 election even failed before the Roberts court. And people are going to be out in the streets, I think. We're already seeing that. But lawyers are going to go and fight every single day.
I think it's really important that the lawyers are fighting. And you all should continue to fight regardless of what the administration is doing. But they have, all but 4 states have received requests for voter information from the government. It looks to me that the administration is fighting on all fronts. They want the voter rolls. They are trying to pass this SAVE Act that would essentially take away my right to vote. They are intimidating local election officials. They're fighting on all they're trying to rig the election with me.
I mean, they took
data, the mid-decade redistricting. It's not just one thing.
Correct. And I think that's what it's an all-hands approach. So cases need to be filed every time there's an incursion on people's rights. Congress does need to act like Congress. We're all waiting for that. But the American people also are seeing this for what it is. You've seen in Minnesota the thousands of people in the street, even amidst the president's targeting of people. They're seeing it for what it is. The president now believes he has an optics problem in Minnesota, so he's trying to lock up journalists and everything else. But it's beyond an optics problem. It's a problem that the American people and the power of the American people are getting unleashed, I think, in ways that we have not seen in a long time. And I think you're going to continue to see that as this president overreaches and comes for the elections.
You can't be casual for this one. You can't be casual. You got to be engaged in this because the threat is very, very real.
Say that. Question for the governor of Georgia. Where are you at? Skye Perryman, thank you very, very much.